Good question. So we get to 1992 and 1982. St. Louis Cardinals 82 versus the Toronto Blue Jays 1992. What was the better team? I love these baseball related ones because, to be honest with you, aside from doing some research on some things that I have forgotten, I do remember the games very well. I can tell you almost where I was verbatim because I was a diehard baseball fan. Now, if you watch my videos, obviously over time, football is probably the sport that I watch more than anything now that I keep up with that keeps my interest because the NBA was interesting. Baseball was my first love. Love tennis, love boxing. Back in the day, depends on when you come along, what you watch, tennis, golf. But baseball was my sport back in the day, and I used to keep up with the teams, collect cards, the tops cards, all that. And the Cardinals were one of my favorite teams. I'm no doubt a Yankee fan. The Cardinals were I always liked the way they played with their small ball lineup and the pick and pop that they did. And I thought Whitey Herzog was a great manager. As a matter of fact, I got family in St. Louis, Missouri, and I got a chance to go to Ozzie Smith's restaurant way back in the day. And he was one of my favorite players. I love the way he played shortstop, the flips he did, all that. But anyway, let me tell you about those Cardinals. They were 92 and 70 back then. They had won the division. Um, Lonnie Smith, who turned out to be one of my, I like the way he played. Ended up playing for the Atlanta Braves later. Liked his versatility as a hitter, playing. Liked the way he played. I don't want to say Willie McGee was there too. He was one of my favorite players. Tommy Hurst, which didn't like the way he rotated. Keith Hernandez, who was big for the Mets, versatile. Of course, you know him. Some people, there's a generation only know him for those dyeing your hair commercials with Walt Clyde Frazier. But he could flat out play first base. And he was a co-MVP back in 79. I want to say with Willie Stargell. So I used to like Keith Hernandez. He was cool. Um, Daryl Porter, who won the MVP catcher at the time. And, George Hammer Hendricks. I remember George Hammer Hendricks. Now, I didn't get into about the pitches because I want to say that. Forsh was still pitching for St. Louis back then. This is the thing I'm going to say about that Busch Stadium and all that. That was a heck of a World Series against Milwaukee because at that time Milwaukee's the Brew Crew with Ben Ogilvy, and I want to say I think Cecil Cooper, Gorman Thomas was there. Those guys could flat out hit the ball. Cecil Cooper I think was there. They just pitching. They missing Riley Fingers because he was missing that series. It was a great battle of the Midwest, if you will. That was a real battle of a World Series. The Brewers were fun to watch back then. They were really fun to watch back then. And this was a great World Series. Then we get Toronto and Atlanta. And this is when Atlanta was going through their run in the 90s. They were like the Buffalo Bills of baseball. So they did win in 95, but they were going every year, had the starting pitching, and they were tough. They were tough. I forgot to mention, a Toronto's team that won had John Olerud. You remember he used to wear the helmet? Cito Gaston, first African American to win back-to-back World Series, and remember, he's part of a short line of black managers that won World Series. So keep that in mind. Candy Maldonado, I remember him with his Giant days. Robbie Alomar, who was bad. Todd Stoudemire had some great pitchers, great blend. Dave Winfield got that elusive ring playing there, and it was something else. Derek Bell, they had some great talent there. And I think that if you ask me in terms of talent, who had the better team, I'd probably say the St. Louis Cardinals. But as far as the seasoning and getting it together, Toronto. Toronto was feisty and tough. Now, ask me who was a better team that they beat between out of Atlanta in 92 or Milwaukee in 82. I think Atlanta had the better overall team, but Milwaukee had the firepower. But it's a compelling argument. Would have loved to see what Cito Gaston's style go up against Whitey Herzog's style, if you could have. Because it's very compelling. And the thing about it, when you do these decade-to-decade situations, you can see how certain teams would have flourished or some of them may not have. So it would have been some interesting managerial positioning going on. But that Toronto team was actually 96 and 66. So very compelling, very strong. David Cone was pitching there, who later went on the Yankees to win. So you had guys who were the right place, right time, cast on, who did their thing. So would have been a compelling battle. So if I had to pick, I think I'd take Toronto by in Game 7, but it would have been close because St. Louis was tough back then, and it would have been interesting to see it. But anyway, let me know what you think. St. Louis Cardinals of 82 versus Toronto Blue Jays of 92. It's a good compare and contrast looking at styles, pitching, hitting, small ball managerial. Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share it if you like and hit that membership because when you do, requests like this come true. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. I'm out. Peace.